Okay, everybody, we are back with another week of Ghost in the Scene, certified ghost-friendly podcast. I'm your host, Gio Trumpetazzi. I'm here with my co-host, Rob Thomas. How are you, Rob?
Oh, Geo, guys, gals, X's, Y's. It is so wonderful to be back and rolling in it. I mean, we're only in our second week back, and already, we're proven to be facts. Nothing but it. And not just the fact, but trendsetters. Like, the whole world looks to us, to see what's going on, to see what sort of truths are going on. And not just that, they're trying to make things happen based off of the knowledge that we're giving out. It's a powerful responsibility, and Gio, I just hope that it just doesn't get out of hand for us.
Yeah, I've been feeling like when you're skating down a steep hill, sometimes you can kind of feel the board or, whatever's under you really kind of start to go back and forth. And that's when you use spellcraft. That's when you use, the adrenaline and the integrity that we have. And I think that's over the years, we build a certain hide. We've been able to take a lot of lashings, a lot of different times we've been taken down, whether it be Oprah, whether it be Amazon, whether it be Comcast. I mean, we're talking, everybody's out to get us, Warner Brothers included, Disney included. So we kind of have to have some tough skin. And the numbers just came in. We're over the moon with the amount of listeners. So 2 episodes in, nothing to shrug about. We're 102 episodes right now. And it feels good. It feels good to be at this level, even if it's a little scary.
Yeah, and that's a little known fact. So when you're on a skateboard going too fast, those are ghosts trying to throw you off the board.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're not supposed to be going that fast. That is faster than what you're humanly possible. You're breaking physics.
Yeah, I mean, any faster and you got time travel. And the last thing that ghosts want is, you popping up in the 1600s with an iPhone and all of a sudden you ruin the space-time continuum,
Right.
right?
And guess what? Those ghosts aren't ghosts at that point. They're living people. So that's
Mm-hmm.
you can really mess things up that way.
You make them jealous of you, right? Because they'll remember you from the future as ghosts, and they'll say, hey, he has an iPhone, and then it's going to break reality because people at that time won't understand what he's talking about. So this is the thing with skateboarding down hills, guys. That's why it's dangerous. It's not about breaking your bones. It's about going too fast that you might fall back into time. So how are you, Rob? How are you doing other than being, racked by this immense amount of responsibility that we have?
Yeah, I mean, we're still, here in quarantine. Not from the virus. That's actually I didn't actually hear about this so-called virus for months after quarantine because I'm very sensitive to the paranormal world, and since the spirit portal has opened, I haven't been outside. So it was news to me that there's also a virus going on, supposedly, and yeah, I mean, and to me, it proves everything that we've been doing before with protection. I was wearing face masks long before. I don't want any ghosts getting up my nose, and
Yes.
so I'm just surprised to see the world kind of catching up, even though there is some confusion out there.
It's true, and yes, there has been a pandemic, and it's been pretty empty, the streets and stuff, which has been really good for the ghosts. They've been able to easily pass by. I've been able to see them a lot more just in passing. I see ghosts driving old carts, like chariots, like the problem with traffic that we don't talk about is that there's no room for the ghost chariots. Ghost horses are very, very afraid and twitchy when it comes to exhaust and fumes. So I've seen gladiator chariots cruise by, and every ghost I've seen just seems to be having the best time of their undead lives right now. So that's the positive, right? We have to look at the silver lining first. So the silver lining, of course, ghosts are having a ball. The bad part, we're creating a lot of ghosts. There is all kinds of demonic happenings happening underneath everything, right? People are home, I would say 99.9% of witchcraft happens at home. Let's be honest. So there's more sacrifices, right? I haven't heard a goat in a couple of months. And if you think about it, how often did everyone hear goats before? Just about every other day.
Yeah, I'd hear them all the time.
So we have to think about where all these goats are going. And they're going somewhere, right? They're not all being eaten. Some of them are being sacrificed. Some of them are being taken in as pets, let go off in the wild. And they're eating cans. They're eating people's cars. It's anarchy in the streets. And you can blame it on the goats. And I think when you watch the news, people get it confused, right? And they're blaming people for this kind of thing. I'm sorry, but you're not looking at the right videos, because all I see are goats in the streets chewing up cans. They're chewing up sides of concrete on the road. There's a lot of people yelling about these goats, and they're calling them, fascists or fat shits. I'm not sure what they're calling them.
I mean, they're eating a lot of cans.
Right. So this is the problem with the media as just as a conglomerate, right? They get it wrong because they're blaming a bunch of people for this. And I see no people. I see goats, I see ghosts, but I don't see many people out here eating cans.
I mean, I'm species blind. I just see beings out there like doing what they do.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think you can blame them for that.
If they're hungry, they deserve to eat. If there's cans, they deserve to eat them. I think we're living in a symbiotic relationship. Those are recyclable, but you can recycle poop too, and that's fine. So, of course, the media is having a field day with that, right? Luckily, of course, Skeleton Joe has just announced his new running mate, which gives fire to the media, right? They're going to leave the goats alone, and they have a new plaything to use and abuse, right? They are going to tear down, build up, tear down, build up. This is how this works, right? We've talked about the reverse Underground Railroad before. This isn't an official segment, but this is just kind of a call, right? A check. Remind everybody what's going on, what the stakes are, and who the players are. So, Rob, you said before the show when we were talking something so poignant that I think needs to be said again.
Right. And this goes back to everyone using us as a playbook. And I'm waiting in our cash app from Skeleton Joe's team. Just drop us a few million. I mean, that's a drop in the bucket in your campaign finances. And frankly, we deserve at least that much, because basically your entire campaign is based off of Ghost of the Scene.
Yeah.
And it's based off of that concept that we talk about. The way you get your ticket on the Underground Railroad.
Reverse.
Reverse, thank you. Reverse Underground Railroad. I was doing a double reverse in my head.
Of course.
The way you get on is through public humiliation. And who humiliated Skeleton Joe the most during the primaries? But none other than Kamala Harris. Mm-hmm. She's basically his conductor on this train. We're going to be seeing this whole campaign. She's going to be giving him noogies. She's going to be pulling up his underwear, giving him a nice little wedgie. Mm-hmm. Flat tires, wet willies.
She's going to be going into his diary, and she's going to be reading it on broadcast news. You're going to have, people like Sean Hannity. He's going to be saying Joe Biden's deep, dark secrets, who he liked in grade school. We're going to find out who Corn Pop really was. And it's going to be, probably like Rosie O'Donnell or something. So it's going to be some really spicy content that, of course, is going to be enough for Joe to get over the hump, right? Joe doesn't need to be perfect man, because let's face it, Donald Trump as a candidate did everything wrong. And we were just kind of a fledgling podcast at the time. We didn't really have the resources to broadcast, and so we didn't get to tell you what was going on. We didn't really explain the reverse underground railroad at the time. But that's exactly what he did, right? Just humiliation over humiliation, and he failed all the way to the top. So Sleepy Skeleton Joe, he of course following our playbook, and now we got the VP, who is the VP of Noogies, like Rob said, and I think it's going to do wonders for his campaign. Let's be honest. That's what we need. We need a pie in the face for Joe, because he's the kind of guy with a smile so big that it'll look really nice when the smile outlines his pearly whites with all that pie in the face. So it's a good camera photo op.
Now that we're speaking about, we're on the Washington sort of stop. We were hinting before that, Donald Trump obviously is a pseudonym. Donald Trump is not a real person. It's not a singular person, but a character played by actors. And, Gio and I have been doing so much research to figure out who the current quote unquote Donald Trump is. We all know it's been the Baldwins through the whole family. It's been Donald Bush from the different dimension, but we know that it's different now. And, we don't actually have the receipts for you today, but what we're going to do is we're going to highlight some of the top contenders.
You know what I did over this past weekend, Rob?
What's that?
I spent 18 hours in the garbage waiting. Okay? Don't ask me whose garbage. It's illegal for me to say. But I spent 18 hours in the garbage. I didn't find jack squat. Okay? Don't tell me that we're not trying. Okay? Don't come at me and say that we don't have the facts yet, because we are literally, knee deep in people's garbage. Okay? And we're going to give you the facts when we get it. And I'm sorry that we don't have it right now. But like I said, this is a crowdsource. We're going to use you, and your tips are going to help us figure this out. So this is for everybody in their head who has kind of, a web of kind of just strange connections. And we want to kind of touch those connections so that you can wake up and see what we can't see, right? A larger picture. Hopefully everybody listening is aware of what's going on, and we can kind of do this investigation with open hearts, because I just don't want to hear people tearing us down because we don't have the answers yet. So let's start with, I think it's easy to do the most likely. The most likely people, the usual suspects, like we said, are the Tonight hosts, right? All the late night hosts have been doing their impressions of the Donald for 4 years, if not longer. So of course they have the most to gain, right? I think we got to start with the least likely, because we've talked about the Jimmies already, but there's plenty of Jimmy time. Right now, I think we got to go with a James. James Corden is, to me, the least likely.
Right. I mean, even though he does have, out of all the contenders, he does have the closest body shape. Now, I want to be careful. I don't want to speak ill of anyone's body type. We all come in different size, shapes, trapezoids, rhombuses.
We don't even have bodies sometimes.
Sometimes some of us don't even have bodies. That's speaking to our ghost guest.
Mm-hmm.
But you have to say that between the Donald and James Corden,
it's true.
That's a couple of rhombuses over there.
It's true. They look similar. They have a similar build. You cannot be wrong in saying that. I think it's totally reasonable. And the other thing, like I think you mentioned before, the CGI in Cats, he does have, the ability to transform into a cat, at least. That's one of his abilities.
So we know he's a shapeshifter.
Right. So this guy is a skinwalker, but is he the leader of the free world? I don't know. But here's one thing that is a tick against him, right? This is why he's not as likely. But we have to eliminate him before we move on. He might be getting a job not as the new Donald, but as the new Ellen. And she's blonde, he's blonde, okay? She does dancing, he does karaoke. Those are two party, favorites. I think that he fits into her position pretty well. So I think from a James Corden standpoint, I don't know why you would choose a role as heavy. And when I say heavy, I mean just emotionally heavy as Donald Trump, when you could be playing the lively, fun Ellen show, right? I mean, why would you go into like the Lion's Den when you can go into like a Studio 54, cocaine and stilettos?
Right. I mean, but I think we still have to take this seriously because it could also be something that they're trying to throw off our scent.
That's very true. Yeah,
And
and
I
I
believe
fell
that
for it.
that he could play Ellen. Like you're next time you see Ellen on TV, look twice. Is Ellen kind of like licking her paws and rubbing her ears like a cat?
Mm-hmm.
That's probably James Corden.
You're not wrong there, and I think you're right. Maybe this is the perfect misdirect.
I mean, that's true. And he's also, he hails from England, He would be the first English Donald Trump, first one to play the role. I mean, but, and then that, it depends on how much merit you put into the whole Winston Churchill's ghost of it all. Because we all know that the bust of Winston Churchill, from day one, from this new presidency, I'm still calling it new because, it's only been a few years.
Right.
From day one, from the presidency, that bust has come along. So is this the culmination of the haunting of Winston Churchill to get a Brit into the hallowed halls?
I mean, these are all questions that need to be answered. We need the scene to answer them, and we're gonna have some definitive answers at the end of this. Right now we're in investigative fact-finding mode, and all of this is wonderful news. We are going to get down to the bottom of this, and I think there is a couple of things that are pro and con when it comes to James Corden. So let's move on from there because there's just so much more that we can get into. But what's interesting is it kind of leads into our next guest, because if you think about it, James Corden, cordon bleu is culinary, right? James Corden is a man that loves to eat fine foods, just like the Le Cordon Bleu, which I think is why he legally changed his last name. And our next guest is a chef. He calls himself the Brujo Chef, which to my non-Spanish speakers, that is like saying you are a witch chef. This is a man that had so much to say, so much knowledge. Rob, he's a friend of yours, I believe, yes?
Oh, yes. I've known him for a few years now, but I think it's safe to say he's a friend of the show now as well. And, we were so fortunate to have him on. We actually had to do a special patch to get him on the show because this man is an empath to the highest degree. Any, variation of spirits, any extra spirits being pumped into these channels, can damage a person, especially an empath. So to have him on, we actually have, Tony is just going to be on our show, just us and him in conversation. We no ghosts were invited, not because we don't like them, but just because we need to also think of our own safety. So this is also something else that we're navigating moving forward. Yes, we're having ghosts on the show, and there will be one later on this broadcast.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, I think Tony's conversation too, you're going to hear a lot from him too about what it means to actually feel ghosts in your daily life. And just such a pleasure to know him for all this time and to speak with us in length about, you know, his experience with ghosts, and maybe it will resonate with you too.
I know it will, and so we'll kick it to us in the interview. And boy, what a ride it was. So here we go. Okay, we are here with special guest, Tony. Tony, how are you?
I'm doing all right. How you guys doing?
I'm good.
Nice.
We are feeling your energy here, Tony, and it's so bright. And seeing ourselves right now, I feel like I am at least 3 times brighter than I was just before you joined.
Nice. Awesome.
Yeah.
That's a good thing. That's right. We try to bring that, you know, try to bring that everywhere we go, you know, all the time.
Wow. So, Tony, let's get a little bit of your pedigree. What are you known for? You know, this is a paranormal show. We've heard you're paranormally touched. So what can you tell us about yourself?
All right. So pretty much, I do, well, right now, you know, I currently, well, we're all quarantined right now, so we're not really doing too much right now, but,
Yeah.
in the past, you know, I've been a chef, you know, and, I've done that for a good portion of my life, maybe about 20 years as a profession. And during that time, I was always kind of, figuring out where am I going to go with this? Because it was never really what I intended to do when I was younger. You know, we all grew up, you know, thinking that we're going to be something cool, you know, like something fun, you know, like a superhero or, you know, something like badass that, you know, people will like remember, you know. And I kind of got into the industry at a time when it was becoming inflated with everybody wanting to be a master chef or on the next Top Chef, you know, and doing all that stuff. So I felt really like, oh, this is kind of like ran out now, you know, but, you know, like I'm going to keep doing it. Obviously, that's all I know how to do. So short story short, as a youth, you know, I was always very in touch with wanting to be in touch with a little bit more than just the normal thing. Like, for example, when I was in school, I would sit back in the classroom and I kind of look at everybody else and kind of be like, is everyone like really sitting here listening to this stuff right now, you know? And I always saw myself as a spectator more than someone who was involved in the actual circle going on. And so I always knew that I was kind of like not an outcast, but I just looked at things a little bit different. And I would always look at it from a side of evaluation and kind of like taking everything in, not to where I was just jumping in there and be like, oh, let's play, you know, and do whatever. It was always kind of always filling the water out first. And so in doing that, as time went on, I started to kind of realize that I have a certain fascination with things that were beyond this world, and whether it was ghosts, scary movies. I want to say it started with that. I loved like movies like the Ghostbusters, you know, and the Poltergeist, you know, and those movies were really. And at a young age too, I was watching these things. You know, like I was telling Rob, you know, a little while ago that I hated I don't hate it, but I think I was a little too young when I watched Poltergeist, you know, and like those types of things, and like, you know, I got into Freddy Krueger, you know, and all that stuff, you know, and I was always like those things, but to the short story, I'm just got to get to the point of my career. I got to a point in recent years, I'd say about like 10 years ago, when I really started bringing my spiritual work into my profession, and how I cook, and being able to kind of bridge the gap between the spiritual world and the culinary world, because it's something for me that I felt is a huge lack in our society, as far as on both ends. There's not enough culinary in the spirit world, and there's not enough spirit in the culinary world. When these two things coming from our ancestors and where all of us have come from, no matter whether you're Mexican, it doesn't matter, I don't care where you come from. It's something that's in our bones, and it comes from our ancestors way before the internet, way before, I mean, all this fucking bullshit happened. We used to really listen to the earth and listen to the animals and the plants. And now we just kind of eat them and consume them with zero regard for what we're consuming and the energy that's there. So my main thing is what I've been trying to focus on is kind of helping us all connect with that again and kind of bring that back. And hence I label myself the Brujo Chef, which is it's a Spanish, the witch, brujo, and that being said, I thought the witch chef or chef witch didn't really roll off the tongue that well, and me being primarily English speaking, I was raised, speaking English and everything, but I always felt the Brujo Chef kind of just roll off the tongue better, and seeing how I have Spanish ancestors, and Mexican descent, all that stuff. I mean, I got a lot of stuff mixed up in me, but my last name is Rodriguez, so it kind of came natural for me. And just growing up in Southern California and moving up to San Francisco, always been a Californian, and it just kind of felt natural for me, and where I'm at in the world.
Wow.
But, yeah.
Wow, that is very interesting. I mean, we talk about energy a lot in this show, so hearing what you're saying, it just like pieces of the puzzle kind of connecting for us, because
Awesome.
the energy of food, culinary stuff. I mean, obviously you said 20 years of experience, so this is like years of the repetition, cooking, heat, energy that you're just kind of like manifesting, and then preparation, all of that is like components of magic.
100%. Yes.
That's crazy that like
and
making that bridge.
You're right. And that's the thing, like working in the kitchen and seeing other cooks and seeing other people and realizing that we're all harvesting this energy all the time, and we're making people feel good. Sometimes you make people feel like shit when you cook too, it's just like, I mean, like, not to say like, but I mean, I've had bad meals too, you know what I mean? Like, I mean, and even in those bad meals, I always find something in there that I can appreciate, whether it's like, I don't know what it is, but you can find something you can appreciate in anything. But for the most part, man, we're passing on this energy all the time, and we're literally working with the elements, with the earth, fire, water, and air. And with that being said, man, I mean, as long as if you have your heart, and that's part of it, boom, it'll bring all those together. And that's pretty much the trick when it comes down to it, as when you're passionate about it. But if you're passionate about cooking and you're not aware of those 4 elements that you're working with, it won't work. So you need to have all 5 of those things going, but your heart is the main element that needs to be right there in between those 4 things. And I promise, we can all do this. We can all do this, and like me and my experience, when I say the 20 years, that's just me working professionally in the industry. When it comes to spirit work and doing that, I mean, we all have this in us and have been doing this since we were young. And it's just, we constantly, we either go further or closer to it, and that's kind of like the dance. That's kind of the dance, we go through this life, doing.
Totally.
Amazing. Tony, I know there's a statistic that people eat like at least like 100 spiders in their lifetime from sleeping. How many ghosts do you think people consume, in your professional opinion?
Right. And I'll just talk about there's the language. I know what I know what you mean. And before I answer that, I just want to kind of touch on what it is, what a ghost is, what a spirit is,
yes,
what energy is, and what a vibe is. And these are all the same thing. To me, that's how I interpret this stuff.
Yeah, speak your truth, man. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so I think we consume these things. I mean, depending on how much we put ourselves out there, and how much we can be aware of it. It can be. I mean, we could hit 100,000 if you want a day. I don't know, man. It could be exhausting though. I think if you can get to that big numbers, like that's a lot right there. Because energy is energy, and it can drain and it can fill too. So. And that's the thing. So I think on a regular basis, just me, like today, I want to say that maybe I hit about, just at a realistic number, maybe about 3, just on like from being outside. We went to the park over here off of Hyde Street, and we were sitting there, and I could just feel it over there in the park, and then we were walking past this house. This house that was this apartment that was abandoned, and then it had a for rent sign, out front, and it was kind of tucked away and everything in this little side alley, and we were like snooping around it. I felt it there, and then I want to say just coming into our apartment, it was really quiet today. I think there's a couple people left town this week or something this weekend, and but I could feel it coming into the place though, into our apartment, downstairs and everything. So and that's just me being ultra sensitive and honest right now, but it on a real on a number, man, that that can go through the roof, or it can be nothing. As depends on how far we want to go as individuals.
Mm-hmm. And like
Yeah.
you said, like how much you put yourself out there,
Mm-hmm.
I think that's where it's really like you can really up the number if you're actively kind of like looking for it and you're like a magnet for it,
100%. Yes. Yeah. That's the thing. I want to say, there was a time when I was younger, and I started, I probably want to say about 7 years old when I really became aware. I was raised Catholic, going to Catholic school, private school. So I was already kind of like in a spiritual sort of sense, like on the way I was raised already, and being Catholic, you kind of already are introduced to rituals and kind of having a sacred space already, and that sort of thing. So I want to say around the age of 7, I started kind of questioning all that stuff. That's when I talk about being in the classroom, and looking around and being like, does anyone really believe in this stuff right now? Like, are we really, is my friend who is from, his dad's from Iran. And that's the thing. I remember questioning that stuff, and I questioned the teacher. I was in 4th grade when this happened. My best friend at the time, he wasn't baptized, but he was in private school with us. And, and he didn't do his communion, and, we did all the sacraments, the class, but for some reason,
Mm-hmm.
like he was in our class, but his parents didn't want him to be do any of the sacraments, and I thought about that, and I remember the teacher saying like, like if you don't do the sacraments, you're gonna go to hell, and I remember being like, what the fuck, are you kidding me? So my best friend is saying he's gonna go to hell,
Yeah.
and right then and there, like I just knew like this isn't the way it is right here, and kind of made a point to forge forward and kind of just like really start questioning every single thing that was told me when it came to being spiritual. And to this day, haven't stopped, even when it comes to witchcraft or voodoo or any sort of, even Buddhism, like, right now, I'm kind of really getting into a little bit of Native American, reading a little bit more about just working with, just nature, that's plain and simple right there. Just,
Right.
So it doesn't really matter, but I question everything though, even everything that's written in a book, and I yeah.
Beautifully said. And I think that's exactly what, everyone out there on the scene, that's what they come here for, to hear
Mm-hmm.
a little bit more about the truth. And the truth is what's, discussed between each other and having more of these conversations about it. So that's, I think, like a really beautiful sentiment that we can all rally around. And I'm just kind of curious, Tony, do you find that you find the ghosts, or do the ghosts find you?
I think, well, I know for a fact that I was, that they found me very young. I want to say it happened before I was born. I was kind of, it's, some people, I want to say a lot of people have these gifts and don't even realize it. And some people do, and they know it, like their parents may have been workers or practitioners and whatever it is that they believe in, but, they get raised, and strengthen their gifts, to where, I'm not gonna say my parents didn't strengthen or nurture my gifts, but they didn't know. They didn't know. And I was something that I was kind of born with. And my grandma, I would hear stories about my grandma when she looked at me when I was a baby, how she said I had, like she said, oh, he's got to be a priest, or he's, he has the eyes of an old man, and I was just born, and she would say that about my grandfather too, on the other side of my mom's side, he looked at me and he was just like, oh, this kid is going to do something, like his hand, he like, tell him, like he's got to take care, he's going to do something with his hands, he's so hands-on of everything, so at a young age, they were telling my parents stuff, but we didn't really know, and it wasn't, I want to say it wasn't until more recent years, the deeper I started getting into working with other people who work in the spiritual community, who helped me kind of tap into that through Divine Nation, and doing readings, where I was actually able to figure out like who my guides are, and how I'm able to exercise with them, and be able to exercise my my work here in this world and what I came here to do, you know, and
Mm-hmm.
we all kind of came here for purpose, you know, and it's just we it, we're doing it. We're doing it right now. Like the three of us are doing it right now, you know, in a sense, you know, and we're keep
Yeah.
going, you know. So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And going back to like some of like your early influences, you say like movies were like, Ghostbusters and Poltergeist. I know that like those kind of like iconography, the haunted house,
Hmm.
like the ability to capture a ghost and a ghost set free, the prophecy of Zool and like all of that kind of stuff, like brewing as a child, right, in
Hmm.
popular culture, definitely also has an impact on millions of people, right? And that's the kind of thing where you think about like the collective energy that people have and how like bringing all of that knowledge to like a pop culture aspect just like is a floodgate for hundreds of thousands of millions of kids that are now interested in paranormal stuff, that want
Right.
to know more, that want to like explore what their intuitions kind of like whatever they feel in their personal lives. So I could feel like we're riding a wave of that,
Hmm.
from that era on. Are there any movies now that you find like maybe like modern movies that you could look at and say like this is going to inspire people to look deeper into it,
You know, I'm not the biggest movie, but I mean, I like my movies, you know, but I'm not like the biggest movie buff. I kind of get into. I mean, to be honest, I'm not really. I try to. Um, I don't watch TV. I'm gonna be honest. I don't watch. I don't listen. I don't watch the news. You know, if something's going on in the world bad enough, it comes. The emergency broadcast system tells me on my phone. You know, and I'll take it from there. You know, but I'm not really one to even get into like. I don't really movies. I want to say that. That's a good. I'm trying to think right now. Something that's inspired me lately, that made me want to kind of, or that I kind of thought would do something. Ah. I can't think of anything off the top of my head right now, to be honest.
Hmm.
But it's out there though, you know, and people are tickling. You know, we're picking each other's brains though, for sure, in that aspect, you know. And I'm definitely. I want to say there's material out there online that if you dig enough, you know, you'll find stuff, you know,
Right.
and it's out there now. You said like there's kind of things that are coming out, like movies are a good way. There's books, you know, and things how we can kind of reach a lot of people, or how people want to reach us, you know, vice versa, and how we can just communicate, how we're kind of tapping into these things, because let's be honest, we're in this physical world here, you know, and how do we get out of it, you know, and still be able to come back, you know, without dying, you know. So
Right.
that's the trick right there. And with my foundation and with my practice, it's like death is everything to me personally, and that's what kind of puts it all in perspective for me, and how I start my work, and how I end it, and everything that we do, it comes from there, you know, and it's a constant cycle that is just it's gonna teach us, and it does teach us, and that's where I think we learn the most, is when we feel that energy of what's beyond this world, you know. And I think death is probably and death gets such a negative um, thing attached to it, you know. Like we're taught that like oh, it's so sad, you know, they're gone, you know, this and that, and a lot of things get tagged onto that, to where we're taught to fear it, you know, and to be like the unknown, you know. But I just got to say that it's a beautiful thing, you know, that happens there, and it's such a magical point when you really step away and you see what happens in those instances, especially when it comes to someone that you lose close to you, and or if it's something that you witness to as well. It's very powerful, the energy in that instance right there. And sometimes if you're close enough to a person, the door kind of gets held open a little bit, you know. And if with your
Mhm.
mind and what you feel in those moments, you can kind of almost kind of peek in a little bit, you know. And you don't want to hang out too much, you know, because man, like I'll be honest, like you can get sucked in, you know, and you can really get into a dark place, you know, sometimes, you know, because like you need to have that opposite of the light, you know. There's going to be darkness, you know, so that stuff is always there. It's always there, because we can't see one without the other.
Yeah. So that kind of leads to a great question. We talk about protection and safety a lot. How do you stay protected?
Well, I'll tell you what. Well, right now I am wearing my little bandana right now, just for physically. I'm wearing a bandana, and I'm just because we are talking about a lot of stuff, but I like to just wear one on the regular because I'm very always open to energy all the time. And one of the number one place where energy comes and leaves and enters us physically is right here on the head and the back of the neck right here. And so I kind of protect myself on a normal basis. I'll be honest, I've been sloppy in the past where maybe I didn't protect myself, and you can get things from like crazy headaches, crazy acne, crazy physical things to where and it goes on. You can get depression, out of nowhere, anxiety, things that are that you wouldn't normally feel if you were, say, someone who's stable, and you might be like, why am I feeling like this, but if you open yourself up, those things can come in, and kind of fuck with you on a level that it's not in your control, and to where you might think you need medication or the doctors and stuff like that, but it's a little bit more than that, So I kind of start with little things like that, I do if I'm going to do any work like doing my candles or doing any sort of I don't do spell work. I'm not out there like trying to hex people or do stuff like that. I want to say like the main thing is to always maintain balance when you're working,
Right.
and always knowing that there's a give and take thing no matter what you do. And I always try to make sure that when you come from a place of love and you come from a place of your heart, that's kind of a really good way to protect yourself. Because if you come from that, man, fucking, I don't care what you believe in, like you will be protected, and you will be on the right side of that scale, because that scale, it's gonna tilt one way or the other, and I promise you, the heart is always gonna protect you, So that's why I kind of start with those fundamentals.
Well said. And
Yeah.
the heart is something that you take with you everywhere, which is
Mm-hmm.
something that, when you're in a moment of maybe vulnerability, you can kind of look to your heart and say, I still have this. I still can have a pure intention, and I can get through this, even if
Mm-hmm.
I'm vulnerable to things right now.
Yes. Yeah. 100%. And then you could go into, and then there's that too, and then also when you start getting to, there's people who do like banishing rituals, and so and I'm always, I try to practice. I do that on a regular basis, just for me and cleansing the space and wherever I'm working, whether it be at my studio or at my home, I try to just keep the energy, clear, and because no matter what, I mean, like we can get stuff, from watching like we say, a movie or something, stuff can come through, and we can start, we can open ourselves up to things, reading a certain book, especially. And another thing is old energy too, when you got things that are old and maybe owned by someone else, and you kind of come in possession of these things, you can hear kind of energy latching on to certain items, or things that were personal to someone, and that stuff's very real too as well, so I always make sure I cleanse, use a lot of sage, always burning that stuff, and I always find it balances me out, and my wife, and the dog too. Like everyone seems really good after I do that here in the house. So
Interesting.
yeah.
Now, animals, right?
Mm.
Are they, can they be sensitive like we are? Do you think they have the awareness?
Yes, even more than we do
Wow.
I think even more than we do as a whole in our society. I think animals are 100% way more in touch with it than I say. If you took like 10 animals and 10 people, the 10 animals, maybe even I'll give one of them, like maybe it might be a dumb dog or something. I don't know. Say,
Yeah.
like say he doesn't know what's going on, but nine of those animals are going to know what's up, and like you'll probably might get like, I don't know. I know it's gonna be less I know it'll be less on the human side, for sure, if you get 10 people together randomly, and you might get maybe 2 or 3 that know what's up. Maybe I don't know. I haven't done those statistics, but for sure it's gonna be the animals definitely know what's going on, and you could see it in them, the way their eyes are, the way their ears move, and their
Mm-hmm.
their body demeanor, and that's the thing. Being an intuitive, it's exactly that, paying attention to those types of things. And you guys, I know you guys are on the same level, and you know what I'm talking about, that sort of thing. If Ross, we wouldn't be talking about it,
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
when you pay attention to these sorts of things, there's little details that you kind of pick up on, and it could be a little twitch or, the way someone like crosses their arms, or, has their arms open, it says everything about them, it's real stuff though, and when we're in tune to that sort of thing, you can pick up on it definitely. And animals, they have no problem showing it.
All of this, you said you can't think of a movie. I'm thinking of a movie that like is almost perfect for this this whole conversation. Ratatouille.
Nice. Yes.
I mean, it's an intuitive animal. They're dealing with the chef, of food.
Yeah,
possession, really, right?
Yeah,
the old spirit of the chef too.
Yeah,
what was his name? What was his name in the movie?
Gusteau.
Gusteau. Yes.
I mean, all of this is, and this is a children's movie, right?
Right.
And so this is the kind of thing that this is the indicator that there's going to be children that see food through that spiritual lens.
Yes. 100%. That's a good example. I didn't even think of that one. And that has to be one of the coolest culinary movies has ever come out. Just for me personally, just seeing that. And then like what an animal to have in the kitchen. A rat. Making the food. It's like how perfect was that? Written. And no, that's so true. That's so true. That movie is probably a good way to describe all this going on right now. Yeah, definitely.
Right. Little Ratatouille was himself like a magic user, able to possess, a friend of his, or maybe channel, is more of like the better term for that, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, or like even, he was like on his head, like pulling the hair and everything even too, like that, hence the energy, what I was talking about, going through the head and everything, And that's the other thing too. You hear about people who grow their hair out too, and how people will say like, no, this is like antennas, like people feel like very like when they get their hair cut, they feel like it's kind of like the Samson story, you know what I mean, where you kind of lose your strength,
Of course, yeah.
And yeah, man, and I have a shaved head, so I'm kind of scared to think where I would be if I grew my hair out, and and if I had dreadlocks, I'd probably be, floating through this place or something. Yeah. I don't know.
That is, I mean, that's the kind of thing. And then you think people sell their hair, right?
Yeah.
There's a whole industry of people that will just sell length strips of hair. You have to think there's some energy stored in that hair.
Oh yeah.
Or something, like for something, right?
Mm-hmm.
It has value more than just aesthetics.
Yes, no, 100%. Like, and that, that I kind of like relate to, like, again, like the cooking thing and how we kind of pass energy on to each other through food, and and I just want to touch on that real quick, like just on how like our moms, like when they cook for us, how good that meal is, like no matter what it is, man. Mom makes something for you, man, like that. But we know when our moms are cooking for us, and we know, and Mom knows when she's cooking for us, man, that's just love going into that thing, man, and hence here I go again, talking about the heart again, and that's the one thing, if anyone's going to watch this thing, I want them to just know that, like, this is where we need to be right now. We need to be coming from our heart, no matter what you're believing in. You can believe what Tony's saying or anything. It doesn't matter. Like, just stick to your heart, whatever's going on in this world right now. And, like it'll come through, and, but the energy though that we get from food though on that level to where we pass it on, it's uncanny on how much it affects us, and we consume it and it becomes a part of us. And it's like when you eat a McDonald's cheeseburger, you feel like McDonald's cheeseburger, after that, when you eat a nice bowl of vegetables, and organic, all that stuff, and it's roasted, or cooked in a way to where, like, don't boil. As a Brujo chef, I'm going to tell you guys, stop boiling all your vegetables. You're cooking all the good stuff out of it. And if you do boil it, drink that water.
Yes.
Like that's all the vitamins right there. Yeah. So just roast your stuff, saute it if you have to, but I try to stick to roasting. Is probably the best way to do stuff,
Oh,
so,
great.
Little tip for everybody out there. Yeah. Stop boiling everything.
So we're getting kind of close to our time, Tony. And one thing I want to signal out there for our audiences, because we talk about movies and a lot of this stuff and influences, right? And it's not just from movies. That's just like a very common area to be influenced. And infamously, as you know, this show is heavily influenced by Johnny Depp. And we even got a threat to our show, to our livelihood from Mr. Depp. And this will be specific for us, but could also inspire people for their own breaking rituals. So like, what would you suggest to us? Like, how can we get Johnny off our backs?
Johnny off the back, huh? I guess the best thing to do is get a picture of him and put him in a jar and just throw him in the freezer, I guess.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, that's probably the best thing you can do, and you might not hear from him for a little while until you take him out of the freezer, but try that one,
Okay,
Yeah.
we'll take that advice. That is great advice to have. I got one more question for you. I'm dying to know, what's your favorite dish as the Brujo Chef? What
Wait, fish.
Fish. Interesting.
Yeah. Okay. To be honest, I'd have to say I'm a simple man, and I love tilapia, man. Like a good
Classic.
And that's the thing. Just because it's a white fish, and you can go into halibut, sea bass. They're a little pretentious with the prices and like them becoming extinct and everything. I try to stay with swordfish. Try to stay with those things, but tilapia, it's kind of like those guys just keep going, and I'd stay away from the farm stuff. That's kind of the common one you see out there, But if you can come up on the good stuff, grab that, because it makes the best tacos. It holds up, it's durable, and I love eating it. I love eating those things in the taco. Put it in a tortilla and just give it to me. That's where it's at.
So you've talked about your Catholic background too, and I think we all come from, been touched by Catholicism in our lives.
Oh yeah.
And as it touches many people out there. But when you're talking about fish though, famously also Jesus was into fish. And I know there's a lot of, we're talking about the negative parts of Catholicism, but where do you talking about fish specifically kind of reminded me of sort of this mystical element around it, like a simpler, like you said, you call yourself a simple man.
Right.
The idea of being able to multiply these fish,
right,
is kind of resonating with me. So do you see like a connection, or like what sort of like spiritual connection to like what do fish represent to you, I guess?
Right. I think well, first of all, I want to say that fish are they're coming from the ocean, and so they kind of got this kind of cleansed thing about them coming from the water, and the salt water too, because salt is a cleansing. You use that for cleansing and cleaning. You can use it for curing things, and it kind of preserves stuff too. So hence it can kind of hold energy too for a long time too, and kind of combat say like things going rancid or bad, or kind of like getting into that realm of something that gets mold on it and you can't eat it anymore. You know what I mean? But hence, still even in the moldy stage or where it's got fungus and parasites all over it. That's life right there too. So those things got to exist too in this world, and they got to survive. But the fish thing, there's definitely a connection there that I definitely want to get a little more thought. Where I start like just vomiting of the mouth and just talking about what my experiences are with the creatures that come from the ocean. And that's the thing. There's fish, and then there's creatures. You know what I mean? And like, man, we have the ocean is full of all kinds of things, man, that are like we don't even know everything that's coming out of that thing.
Hundreds of years old. They could be like. We're even talking about like some sea turtles that are hundreds of years old, right? But we have, larger, more ancient kind of things that live, miles underground in the ocean. This is, we'll never be able to see them, right? But they're there. Their sentience is there. Their energy is there.
Yes, exactly.
Right?
Yeah. Some of these guys got lights down there and stuff, and all kinds of things. And I like the idea of I think one of my strongest things in harvesting energy too, and what I like working with was is if I'm going to touch an animal, it's probably a fish for some reason. That's interesting, Rob, you brought that up too, and kind of touching on this because it's probably the stuff I feel more comfortable with right now. I don't like it's really hard. Like I remember one of the hardest things going into the kitchen too. It was going in the meat walk, and especially in the recent years. When I've become more driven in my craft and bridging together the spiritual world and the physical world in my work in the kitchen, you know, and it was going into the meat walk-in, and to where it's like it really just started to become an excess morgue in a way, to where it was like really unnecessary when I walk into the walk-in, and you know, I see just like kind of like all this like flesh just kind of hanging out there beyond what's necessary, you know, and a good thing too, like, you know, kind of touching back on my, you know, the Native American, you know, readings that I've been doing and study, is that it's we kill beyond excess, you know, and we take what we don't need. We're kind of fucking up the system here, you know, and fucking up nature, you know, and hence, you know, that's why our rainforests are, you know, gone, you know, and you know, we got a bunch of, you know, factories out in Vacaville, you know, pumping out cattle, you know, and, you know, taking their babies from their moms, you know, the list goes on, you know, and it's
tragic.
I don't want to say fish are kind of like the more safeties, but they're you know, if they're coming from the ocean, I like to think that they don't have all that trauma connected to them that you say you get from a cow or a pig, or say even birds, like you know, like chicken. I mean, it's even worse for chickens, I want to say, man, but you know, on that level, just how they pile them up and everything. But yeah, you know, I want to say fish would kind of be the one that I felt more comfortable putting out there, as far as if it was to be a flesh life, you know, it would be fish, you know. But
Right.
even plants energy, you know, you get into that one, that's where it's even stronger, you know. I think energy carries, I think you can transfer energy into plants a lot easier than, say, an animal, just because plants are a lot more, they want to help us, you know, and they want to make us feel good. That's why they're here, you know, and and the plants are not selfish at all, or like worried about themselves. They're gonna do what they do, you know. And I think working with herbs and plants are the best thing to do, as far as putting your energy into the food. So you always starting with that as a vessel when cooking, you know, as one of the best things, you know, to start with, you know, and before you start getting into animals and doing all that stuff.
Nice. Yeah.
I think that's a great rallying call. Return Vacaville to the cows. You know, you're breaking down that town name. It's literally Cow
It's called
Town.
Cow. Yeah.
Cowtown.
Right. So I want to see some cow bus drivers,
Cow mayor.
cow teachers, cow mayor. Let's do it.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Yeah. Wow. You know, Tony, it's been so great having you. Hopefully we can talk to you again soon. I think there's
Absolutely.
this is an ongoing conversation that we're going to have with you, because it was such a pleasure having you.
100%. No, guys, seriously, I was so good. Just this is a safe place right here, you know, and I like this. This is a real good thing, an opportunity. And I want to thank you guys for giving me this opportunity, because seriously, I feel really good right now. You know, just seeing, you know, just meeting you and, you know, Rob, for, you know, getting me in on this with you guys. And it this feels really good for me right now. And I appreciate that, guys. And just this alone right now, you know, no matter who sees it or not, you know, I appreciate that. And just me being able to vocalize myself and express, you know, my experiences, you know, and to people who are receptive to it too. So I really appreciate that, guys. Thank you very much.
Yeah, man, totally. Tony, the Brujo Chef. Once all this opens, of course, you'll be able to taste his food in San Francisco.
Right? Nice.
All right.
All right, guys.
All right. Take care. Okay. And we are back. What an interview. I learned so much from Tony. We will be having him back, that we didn't even scratch the surface. I think he even said, you know, it's like an iceberg, you know, and there's just so much under the surface that we haven't even touched. So how'd you feel about that, Rob?
I mean, I feel like the Titanic, right? And I just plowed my nose right into that iceberg and just tore me apart like I was made out of tin foil. And now I'm taking on water, lots of it, because I realized, wow, we're dealing with ghosts every day. That is quite the awakening. You know, everyone talks about spiritualism as some sort of fringe things. No, ghosts are part of your everyday life.
They're a part of your breakfast, you know? They're a part, like, if you think about, we didn't even talk about this, but if you think of, I was been thinking about this for a while, the Wheaties, right? Sponsored by athletes, dead athletes, right? Their faces on the boxes. You're eating part of their soul. You've been eating different parts of different athletes' souls your entire childhood, your whole life. That's why we need him back. But yeah, you know how you feel like the Titanic. I feel like an aluminum can that's been eaten by a goat, right? I'm somewhere in the stomach being chewed up by the acid, but I'm going to be made into manure, and a tree will grow from the can, right?
That's beautiful.
That's how he made me feel. Just consider food, right? Consider, like, and I think we were kind of saying this before, Kamala Harris's favorite food is potato, right?
Specifically transformed into a fry.
You can make little crosses out of fries, can't you?
Yeah, I mean, isn't that how everyone eats their French fries?
Yeah. And then the ketchup kind of looks like
It's like the
blood,
blood of Jesus. Yeah.
right?
I mean, I thought this is what everyone did. You
Mhm.
you have your crucifix, but dab it in some blood of Jesus, and you're good to go.
Exactly. I just wanted confirmation that you did that too, and that everybody does that. So this is the kind of thing that Kamala Harris brings to the table, right? This normal food ritual that we all take for granted, she makes it, and this is something that Rob found out. She doesn't make it in regular peanut oil, coconut oil, canola oil, olive oil. She's using some fancy ass oil, right? Or it's not even oil, right? What the hell? What was it? Was it fat?
It was duck fat.
Duck fat.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Right. These are animals you keep in a cage.
right.
Right. She knows about keeping things in cages.
Exactly. And that is using, some kind of spellcraft in her daily life. When you think about, and this isn't to like say that we love witchcraft, right? We just had a witch on. So when I say witch and that Kamala Harris is a witch, this is not me denigrating her at all. I am acknowledging her power. Okay? That I want to make that clear. So no haters, and we're not haters. I admire that she uses duck fat, because that's an ingredient that witches use. When you think about what they use the eye of a newt, the fat of a duck.
Right. But I think we can get into the details. And, I didn't really anticipate we getting this far in, but, we can get into the details and talking about the way that we're conducting our witchcraft. That is what it's up to for debate. I think it's bad to call someone out for doing witchcraft, but you can critique or have conversation, really, because we're all doing it differently. Who are we to say what's the right way to do it?
Mm.
But this cage stuck, the idea of like caging things, I think is a bad form. I don't. That's not the kind of witchcraft I adhere to. I want things to be free range, to be able to stretch their legs, to be able to go out and have more experience. Because if you keep something pent up, you're stifling that energy, and that's beyond ducks too. That's like, anything that you put in a cage.
I was going to say, if we go back just specifically to ducks, it is much more gratifying to catch a fat duck than it is to breed a fat duck. I think that's simple enjoyment purposes, and I think that's enjoyment purposes for the duck as well. The duck will enjoy the free life chase rather than the cage kill, the sacrifice, right? And I think there is almost a sense of like fate in that as well. Sometimes the duck gets away. And I think that's something that has to be a part of the equation. There has to be a chance where whatever it is you're sacrificing has a chance to escape, because that itself is part of the ritual. And if you ignore that, I think what Rob is getting at is that you are ignoring certain key parts of the ritual that make it a more humane or more spiritually ethical kind of ritual.
And it's what you're saying. It's beyond just ethics. It's about the power of the ritual itself.
Mm.
You're really limiting yourself when you think of if you're using witchcraft in a way that is controlling in that way, because the idea is you're harnessing this power that's greater than yourself, and you really can't control that.
I think it's a classic, you know, you're into control until you then become controlled by the power that you no longer can wield. When you become just another thing that you as a figure controls, where you no longer have control of yourself, right? You're out of control. That's something that we easily fall into. And I'm sure we will go down that path, maybe not personally, but we will find people that have gone down that path, and we will hear their story, right? We're not going to just hear, you know, great, nice, clean, happy stories from everybody. I'd like that to be the case, but that's not the way that life is. We've had plenty of scrapes, and we want to show, just like with Charlie Chaplin, that yes, you know, ghosts can be sad, humans can be sad, witches and warlocks can be sad, and we can express our pain and not use it as a form of control, right? We can do that in a kind way, and we don't have to harness duck fat for malice. So that's a very beautiful point that you made there, and I think Kamala has a lot of learning to do, right? And she's going to have to do that in the public eye, which is going to be a million times harder. But we're going to hold her to that, because having, you know, the kind of duck fat that's jarred up like that is not the good kind, right? You need free wheeling duck fat, not the kind of a jar. That's gross. Store bought, probably from, you know, the black market or something.
I mean, even the normal market, right? It's sitting in some shelf, a dusty shelf, made in a dirty factory. You know, just mixing. You know, you want your spells also to have a certain purity to them as well. And if you don't know where they're coming from, or it's just getting mixed up with all other sort of spells, it's not going to go the way that you want it to. It's going to really damage your craft work.
Right. And I think you start to make spells that you'd never intended, the consequences, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's the issue that really happens. You start to create issues in your life that are unintended. And all of a sudden down the road, you're having problems that you never dreamed would start. You're seeing the Loch Ness monster in your bathtub because you accidentally, you know, bought some store-bought gunk and some junk, to be honest. So let's move away from, you know, kind of chastising everybody, because I think you can only hear the truth that harsh for so long before you need a little break. And what I wanted to get into was something that we've been just clocking. Rob and I were on a text thread. We text each other about ghostly information. You know, we're always communicating. And every time this Donald Trump character has talked about COVID, talked about the coronavirus, he's been referencing it in a different time than when it started. If we all, you know, took our history classes, and even if we haven't, if you just have any kind of awareness as to what's been happening, the news has been telling us it started in the year 1918, 102 years ago. We're on our 102nd episode. Interesting that we're talking about it right now.
I mean, I see it as fate.
Me too. And so supposedly Donald Trump, whoever this creature is, who knows, is saying it started in 1917. 1917, over and over and over again. I don't know how many times that he's gotten it wrong, but he just keeps on getting it wrong. And at some point during our conversations, Rob and I just had the realization he's not getting it wrong, because he's not talking about what we all think he's talking about. He seems to be referencing something else. So we looked into it, you know, we followed our nose, and Rob, of course, being the movie buff that he is, immediately clocked it. And you're like, hey, isn't that a movie?
Oh yeah, I mean we don't even have to go that far back. It was nominated for Best Picture this last year, this last cycle.
Mm.
And I don't even know if I have to say the title because all the other movie buffs or people that have just been around for the last year, it should be already ringing bells. And the craziest thing about this movie is that it doesn't have any actual words in the title at all.
Right. There's no like the Maltese Falcon, or, it's not called Casa World War One or something, because it's a World War One movie, right? So it should have like a title like Full Metal World War Trenches or something.
Full Metal Trenches, yeah.
But in fact, it's just a stupid number. And this is, I mean, we're going to blow your mind right here. Donald Trump is saying the year 1917. We are talking about the movie 1917. Ipso facto, vice versa, vis-a-vis, Donald Trump is talking about the movie 1917. So every time he said 1917, everybody thought, oh, he's just being stupid. He's wrong. 4D chess, I don't know about that. Okay. I don't know about 4D chess. That's space chess. All I know is that he is speaking a different language, and that only Ghost in the Scene had the ability to pick that out and understand that it is not a year. It is, in fact, a movie.
And it's a movie that's seen by the world over. So when he's talking about pandemic, this movie is very popular.
That's true.
And, right? It's around the world. So you couldn't go anywhere without seeing this movie. And it's not just in the theaters. You'd see ads for it on TV, on billboards. So he's saying that this movie, 1917, is everywhere. But he's bringing it up now, after the fact.
Right. This is a movie that came out a year ago. It already won its awards. It already made its money. So what does it have now to do with this virus? Other than, like you said, it did have this contagion quality to it, right? It was everywhere. But also, we did some looking into the movie. And it's not that simple, because nothing ever is. So we started with the director, because like everything, he is the leader of the ship. He is the captain at the helm. And this guy's name is Sam Mendes. Sam Mendes is a Brit, a lot like James Corden, right? A lot like Winston Churchill. But we won't get into what he has to do with all of that. But we'll just kind of leave it there, just because we know that there is a possible connection with Donald Trump and England. At least we know that. So there is that connection. Sam Mendes has made multiple movies, and I just want to name off a few because they're so interesting in the way that they're paired. So he made 2 James Bond movies, and of course they're called 007, right? 007 and another 007, right? One was made in 2012, one was made in 2015, right? The difference between 5 and 2, it's 3. Let's keep that in mind, everybody. So then he made another movie called Revolutionary Road. He made a movie called Road to Perdition. 2008, Revolutionary Road. 2002, Road to Perdition. The difference, 6 years.
And also significant with Revolutionary Road, famously brought Leonardo DiCaprio and Kate Winslet back together since Titanic made 9 years prior.
Preach, Rob.
All right.
Right there.
So
okay.
you're spoiler, which is good.
Mhm.
Jack dies at the end of Titanic. He slips down into the icy depths, and here we go talking about the Titanic again.
Exactly.
But Sam brings him back to life to star with Kate Winslet again, and 9 years later. And we all know 9 is just an upside down 6.
Exactly. And there we have just this interesting duality. You have 2 and 2. 2 movies about 007, right? 2 movies about roads. Then you have Jarhead, that he did a movie about war. 1917, movie about war. 2 movies about war. They're both made in one 2019, one in 2009. So
2005.
Oh, 2005. I'm so sorry. So that's 14 years, right? 1 and 4 is 3. Of course, we can get into numbers, but I think us just saying the numbers is enough for you math heads to start crunching. We know that you're doing that. So here's where you really have to get a little headier with me, okay? Because I watched these movies. I watched all of them. And the one that stuck out was the movie Skyfall. Because Skyfall is a location in the movie. That's a big reveal that Skyfall is an actual building. Okay? And then Spectre is an organization. So it's the title of a movie, but it's also an organization. It's the title of a movie, Skyfall, but it's also a building, a location. Think about it. Revolutionary Road. It's a road going somewhere. The Road to Perdition. It's going somewhere. And then in 2009, he made a movie called Away We Go, a movie about a couple traveling together, starring Maya Rudolph and Hollywood's lover boy John Krasinski. All of this connected, right? When you start to think about what all of this means, I think it's pretty clear to say that 1917 is not just a movie and it's not just a war, but it's a location.
And we're just letting that sink in for you for a moment. That's a lot to keep in mind, because at first you thought we were talking about disease, and then we're talking about the years, the war, movie. It's none of that.
Mm-mm.
All right? That was just the thread to get us to where. And that's what the answer is. And that is what we're being told to be paid attention to right now.
Mm-hmm.
The one movie you didn't bring up, Gio, unless I'm mistaken, is that Sam Mendes's, see, I don't trust that already. A last name that you can't properly put like a possessive
It's true.
S on is
He can't be possessed.
He can't be possessed. He is non-possessive.
Wow. I didn't know that was possible, to have your name grammatically fixed to where you cannot be possessed.
I mean, that's true for my name, Rob Thomas.
You can't be possessed either.
I can't be possessed. That's how I've been able to get through this so far. I mean, I can be affected by spirits.
Right.
But I cannot be possessed by one.
Well, so you and Sam Mendes have that in common.
Right.
How interesting. So what movie was it that he forgot to mention, or I forgot to mention?
The first one, Gio. The first one out the gate, 1999, American Beauty. And you may have forgotten because there's a deep spell on this film.
It's true.
It won the Best Picture in 1999.
Wow.
That's a big 666 here. That's a straight 666 here once you flip it over. That was our last big one that we've had.
It's so true. And
it
of course,
sets it all up.
Kevin Spacey played the president.
In
House
the film,
of Cards. Yeah. So this is all connected, right? We all have to understand that when Donald Trump is saying 1917, he's not talking about the movie either, right? He's talking about what the movie's talking about. And so, Rob, being the number whiz that you are, you did some deep diving and you found the bombshell, whatever you want to call it, the crater. Literally, we found the location.
Yeah, it's big, and it's honestly, it's something that's written right on the face, and it's something like everything that we look at. It is so simple if you just know how to look at it from the right angle. It's kind of like those little puzzles where it looks like a woman's face, but you turn it upside down. Oh, it's a rabbit, and it's been looking at you the whole time. So here's the rabbit. All right, 1917. Turns out it is a word after all. And you just need to learn how to read the numbers. All right?
Whoa.
Yeah, buckle up. All right? 1917. 19. Look at the alphabet. 19th letter, S.
S.
Next one. It's a 1. That's A.
A.
You end it with a 7. G.
7 and the G. SAG.
SAG. SAG.
Wow.
Now, for all of you who may not be as clued in for Hollywood, you know, SAG isn't just what would that be? An adjective,
An
verb,
acronym.
an onomatopoeia.
Right. To SAG.
It's not one of those. We're talking about the Screen Actors Guild.
Right. A guild. We talk about the Illuminati, and when I say we, I mean conspiracy theorists who don't know what they're talking about. They talk about the Illuminati when there's a literal guild in Hollywood called the Screen Actors Guild. Okay, like the guild of old, like people who have swords, they raise to the ceiling, they take oaths, they drink blood. This is the kind of guild we're talking about. And they're made of screen actors. So we try to understand, we try to unpack why SAG? What is this movie talking about? Why is Donald Trump talking about this movie? You know, what's the big deal? And we dug and we dug, and I think we found what Donald Trump wanted us to find. And here is the issue. Rob and I have uncovered information that he wants us to find out. Do we tell you? And therefore let the cat out of the bag? Obviously. Obviously we're going to.
Yes. That's why you're listening to this show.
Of course we're going to. We're not going to keep anything from you guys. This is the truth. And the truth must be told. So, okay. We looked into it, okay? I was feeling a little nervous, like I wasn't going to say anything, but no way. Okay. SAG was a Screen Actors Guild that didn't start the specific year that they said they started, okay? They actually started in the time of Merlin, right? Old times. Medieval. And so this guild is responsible for many things. And the one thing that it's responsible is for the events of 1917. And what do I mean when I say that? People, conspiracy theorists, like to say that the moon landing was staged. They're wrong. They're fools. They don't know what they're talking about. But no one ever talks about World War I. Why would they, right, Rob?
No, of course. We see it in our history books. We see, this is just one movie. There's multiple movies that are about World War I. So we've seen movies. You've seen photographs. Well, guess what all these have in common, folks? These are all images that are appearing on a screen. So everything that you know about World War I is happening on a screen. Huh.
Convenient. A little too convenient for our taste. So I spent 18 hours in the garbage. Whose garbage? The Screen Actors Guild garbage. Like I said, I didn't find anything, okay? No definitive proof. But what I did find was an old notepad. I did the etching, okay? And I saw to do silence DJT. Now that means that people at the Screen Actors Guild don't want Donald Trump to let out their secret. What's their secret, right? So Rob did some astral projecting. He did some astral hacking because he is one of the leading, if not the world-renowned, the world-leading expert in astral hacking. So what did you find?
Of course. So I thought about the battlefields, and I thought about France, Germany, where the majority, Belgium, where the majority of this fighting happened. And it was the strangest thing because not much was coming up. It's as if these battles never happened. All right. Or if they did, it wasn't the way that we thought that they did.
Right.
Like it was, they have craft table, they had people with cameras, they had trailers with more craft services. You could get towel rubbed down. There were scripts.
What? Now,
I mean, yeah.
I heard that you made a friend while you were on this journey, and that you invited them back onto the show. So maybe it's time to introduce our ghost guest. I think there's been enough, kind of empty space between us and Tony's interview to give him the security that he won't be affected by this. We can finally invite on our ghost guest. So who is this guest that you brought on?
Well, I found them in my research, right? Like you said. And I found that they were actually a part of World War I.
A soldier.
So I thought, right? And so I brought them back, and I have them with me right now. Very nice, very kind to be on our show. And I just want to give them some space.
Mm-hmm.
And I've developed a new technique of letter tossing.
Oh.
And I'm going to toss some letters right now. And we're going to hear a message from our ghost soldier guest. All right.
Okay. He's going to toss some letters. The ghost is going to use their powers to take the letters and make words out of them, almost like a Ouija, but using gravity instead of a planchette.
Oh my God. They spelled out fever.
Fever. Okay. I can think of a couple things when I think of fever. The first thing I thought of, though, I have to be honest, Saturday Night Fever.
My God. Right.
It's the first thing I thought of. I don't know, some free association. I'm an empath.
Uh-huh.
I have those feelings. I heard the Bee Gees. I heard Saturday Night Fever when you said fever.
Wow. I mean, could this be John Travolta's spirit? I mean, I know he's still with us, but
he is a part of SAG.
Mm-hmm.
So it checks in with where you were. He does dance. He is a performer. Saturday he was in Saturday Night Fever. But World War One, he's not a soldier.
No.
So this doesn't add up. Why would an actor be in World War One?
Right. And it also goes on with all this other imagery that I was having, you know, of the trailers and the scripts and just reels and reels of film.
Wow.
And I think, oh, of course, Battlefield Earth.
Battlefield Earth. The movie.
The movie. The film of our generation, really.
Starring John Travolta.
Exactly.
This makes so much sense. So what you're saying is there was no 1917 battle the way that we imagined it. It's just like the movie 1917. It was a movie. So in fact, 1917 is almost a recreation of what happened in the original time when SAG was making this movie.
Right. I mean, if you look at the film Battlefield Earth, it looks like it's in the future, but really, it's about the past.
Right. And this is amazing because if you think about what's going on, you have Donald Trump, in quotes, of course, talking about a movie that is about the making of another movie about a war that never existed. And it's all because he doesn't want whatever he's doing to be, the front scandal. This is, I would say, in my opinion, one of the largest scandals that I've ever come across. This is, like I said, this is the bombshell that is the Grand Canyon, right? And yet here we are, the only two living people besides John Travolta that know this. He hasn't said anything, right? He had to go into his astral ghost form in order to reveal the truth, which means he's afraid for his life. I don't want anything to happen to us. I know nothing will. We have protection. But they even want to silence Donald Trump. So the Screen Actors Guild is much more powerful than we ever even considered. I'll say it. I'll admit it. This was not on my radar before. This was a blind spot for Ghost in the Scene. I mean, we've talked about movie studios. We've talked about heads of studios. We've talked about directors, actors, producers. I mean, basically everybody. And yet we've never even considered the Screen Actors Guild. So what does that say about, about our research? Is it like they're some kind of protected enchantment over them?
Or, to me, it speaks so much more to this iceberg analogy. We thought that we were, digging deep, but it turns out we were still just at the top of the iceberg. And we had to go through all those layers to find the Screen Actors Guild because, like you said, we're the only living beings in John Travolta to know the truth, to find out that the World War I was staged. And, I believe it's possible that, all those who lost their lives during that war still did, but it was on purpose. It was all done for the camera, right?
Exactly. It was real props. It was like they did them like Brandon Lee. Okay. They used real guns because they're too cheap. Blanks are expensive. So you just use real bullets. Okay. This is like anarchy kind of ruling the day. You just you want to get the shot. Hey, let's just take this real gun and go out there, buddy. And they got the real shot and shot in a lot of different ways. So, there's stories of necromancy on the field. Hey, that didn't look right. There was a boom mic in the shot. We got to raise all these guys back from the dead and do it again. And they would kill them again. I mean, this is horror stories that I think that the president wants to make the lead story in order to get away from Kamala Harris, to get away from her love of potatoes, to get away from, I mean, the French fry thing is going to ruin him, right? He had the McDonald's endorsement. If you think about, he had Diet Coke and McDonald's. There's nothing more American than that. And that's something that he ate every day. You don't think that gave him tens of millions of votes from all the people that work there? Now we have Kamala Harris talking about how she likes French fries as her favorite food, and she's using witchcraft to make, delicious French fries. So of course, this is the end of his fast food friendship with the industry, because they're going to see that she's cooking gourmet French fries, and they're going to throw them to the curb like a used sock, if you know what I'm talking about.
Definitely. I mean, they have been using this vessel for the last 4 years now. And we'll see if there's any more to squeeze out of it. And otherwise, we have to look to what the next iteration is going to be and what's going to come. And I think part of the reason why the Donald is trying to do this big reveal now is that it's like we were saying too, just that we're so close to finding the next. We've been revealing who's been playing Donald Trump for a while now, kind of this cat and mouse game. But I feel like this next time when we reveal, it's going to be so big, and it's going to be a national news story. And he is terrified for people to find out that he's not real.
And you can count on that. You can count on that being on the head of every news story when we find out.
You will read, "Thanks, Ghost in the Scene. We're so sorry. You were always right. Donald Trump is fake."
Yeah, here's a couple $1 million from Skeleton Joe's campaign, right? That's simple requests. So we're going to keep on researching, everybody. We're going to keep our nose to the ground. I'm going to get in someone's trash. You better believe it. And next week we will have more questions, more answers, and more guests. So we want to thank John Travolta for making a quick stop here. And we want to thank Tony, the Brujo Chef. Once again, we'll have him back. And I want to thank you, Rob, for everything that you do.
Of course, and thank you, Gio, for the endless hours of research and not letting this pandemic be anything to stop us, but only make us stronger.
That's right.
And it's just so wonderful. I mean, also that big shout out to all of our listeners. We can't do this without you. This is the reason why we do this, is so we can come together as community and all learn from each other to know the real truth.
That's right. Nothing but the truth. So help us, higher beings. So until next time, guys, stay in the scene.
Keep your eyes on that screen.
Take care. We love you.